Hey everybody, Erica Serwin here from Pink Buckaroo Designs, and I've got a beautiful Christmas card here for you today using the Words of Cheer bundle from the current August to December 2021 Stampin' Up! Mini Catalog. I call it the Holiday Catalog. Great die set with some words, but we're not using the words today. We're going to use the little sprigs, and we're going to use this beautiful image right here to do some tone-on-tone stamping, and we're going to mix mediums when we color it. All right, I think we will do our coloring first. That's really the fun part of this card. So let me get my piece of soft succulent cardstock. That's what this is. It's 2 by 4 1/4. There will be a free PDF on my blog, so make sure you click the link here on YouTube to hop over there and get it over. Hop over to my blog and grab it. Now I'm putting a little foam mat underneath because my table doesn't have a whole lot of give. So when I stamp my photopolymer stamp, sometimes they kind of bubble in the middle. So that's what that was. All right, now I've got soft succulent cardstock and soft succulent ink. And I'm going to just stamp this flower image twice in soft succulent. And I'm going to kind of do it differently. I don't want them to be exactly the same. Let's see, I'm going to make that flower come down here to the bottom like that. Okay. Now let's see, do I want to add some more? What you could do is take the sprig and add a few little sprigs to the edge here if you want to fill in those holes. Not necessary, but you can. Okay, so now we're going to color it with, we're going to use soft succulent Stampin' Blends. We're going to use Real Red Stampin' Blends, and we're going to use a white watercolor marker with a blender pen, not to be confused with Stampin' Blends. These are two different things. And then we're also going to use some Wink of Stella. Okay, let me pull my chair over because I cannot seem to color correctly when I'm standing up. All right, I think the first thing we'll do is the flower. I'm going to take my white watercolor pencil, and I'm going to add in some color inside of each of the petals. Now, I'm going to try to keep that color on the inside of that ink. When we use this blender pen here in a minute, it will smooth out the ink, but it will also pick up the soft succulent ink if we go over it. So we don't really want that to happen. Okay. Now the the blender pen has a clear solvent in it. So it's almost like a little tiny paintbrush that will just take that watercolor pencil and just kind of blend it all together and smooth it out as if you were watercoloring it. It doesn't have quite the looseness or the splash of as watercoloring does, but it will blend and it will bring that color into the image nice and smooth. All right, so I'm going to continue doing that to all of my flowers. Let's go ahead and just do all the color here. And then we're going to add Wink of Stella. Now, Wink of Stella will also act like a paintbrush. It will pick up the color of the ink, so you got to be careful and color each individual petal so that you don't smear the green. Now you can see that that blender pen makes things nice and subtle, which is the look that I'm going for. Okay, so we're just going to blend all that in. I don't want any of those kind of scratchy pencil marks there. I want them to all blend together. Okay. Your blender pen will also work with your ink pads, so you can use them. You can dip this into those inks and use it kind of like a paintbrush or a marker. Okay, there we go. Now, while we give that a little bit of time to dry, I'm going to take my dark soft succulent and I'm going to color in those holly leaves. At first, it's going to look like it's just covering up all the ink in the image, but it's not. As it dries lighter, and those lines will pop back up. And you will see the definition in those leaves. I'm not going to try to do any shading here. You can shade on a piece of colored cardstock, but it's not quite as noticeable as if you were doing that on basic white. So I like to just leave it kind of flat and let the lines in the image be seen. The Stampin' Blends behave much differently on colored cardstock. If you're used to coloring them with basic white, you will see how they kind of almost bleed out a little bit, but in doing so, it really fills that image in and gives it a really nice look. All right, let's see. I'm going to add the light soft succulent to all of these leaves. And this is going to dry really light. It's just going to be a little bit of color. I'm also going to add some to those. Like that. Now we have berries on this image. And I'm going to use Real Red, sticking with the Christmas colors, but you could do any color. You could even do white berries, I would think. Okay, let's see. Make sure I got all that. Let's do the berries and see. Every time I color this, I end up missing some leaves or a petal or something. For some reason, my eyes don't see them until I'm all done, and then I have to go back. All right. Dot, dot, dot. This is dark Real Red. And it really pops off nicely off of this paper. All right. Now, I think I'm going to add a little more white onto these petals. It looks pretty light, and I want it to be a little more white. So I'm going to add a little bit more. And this time I'm going to use my Wink of Stella to blend them around. Okay, so I'm just going to take my Wink of Stella, which is a brush that is filled with glittery liquid. It is a great way to add liquid to or glitter to your image without making a huge mess. You see that? That is really striking, isn't it? All right, I'm going to do that one over here. Again, be careful not to drag the color across the soft succulent ink, because it will pick it up. Okay, there we go. Isn't that beautiful? All right, now let's make the rest of our card. I have all of our pieces here. We're going to, well, we'll do the image, we'll do the sentiment in a minute. We're going to cut out 3 of these pieces. We've got the holly leaves, so we'll do evening evergreen there. We've got the sprigs, which we will do in soft succulent. And then we've got what I think are probably like the berries in red, or just another skinny sprig. So let's bring the cut and emboss machine over. Your mini cut and emboss machine would work nicely here as well. Okay, you need all your plates. And let's get them all on here. See what I've got. Real Red, Evening Evergreen, and Soft Succulent. There we go. Get those all down here. And I think really you just need to go through one time. I think that'll be plenty of sprigs and leaves. All right, let's stamp our sentiment in Real Red right here on a piece of basic white. And we're going to punch it out with this awesome punch right here. Make sure you go back over to my blog for the supply list and all the names of these tools and supplies that I am using. All right, I'm going to get all of these and lay them out. Oops, I got red ink all over me. I don't know about you guys, but every time I stamp with red, it ends up being all over me. Let's see if we can get that one out. Okay. So I'm going to kind of arrange these. Let's see, we're going to do 2 of these like that with some holly in the middle and a real red like that. So then I want that right down here. So I'm going to take my adhesive, which is missing right here, and I'm going to put that adhesive right there. And I'm going to kind of pick those up like that in that adhesive, okay? Now the next adhesive I want is going to be on that corner, or the next arrangement, if you will be right here, like that. And we will pick those up like that. Okay, so now one thing that you can do to secure those nicely is to grab your dimensionals and put your dimensionals that we're going to use here in a minute to stick it down onto the card and just set it on top of those. All right. All right, let's set that aside and bring the rest of the pieces together. I have an Evening Evergreen card base, and we are going to put a piece of Ever Eden Designer Series paper. This is new paper. It's actually early release from the next catalog. You can get it on the Stampin' Up! Website. I'm going to put that right there in the middle. Then I've got this piece. Remember that piece that we spent lots of time coloring? And I'm going to put this real red stitched scallop border along the bottom. All right. And that stitched scalloped die is from the Pinned Flowers die set. It's one of my favorites. All right, there we go. Now let's bring back that piece and put that right there. All right, and last but not least, we're going to add a bow. Now over here I have the silver elegant trim. This time I'm going to use the gold. If I can get it started. Let's see, I've got a new bolt. I love real skinny thread or twine on my cards because it doesn't bulk them up and it still adds a little something something to your card. It's delicate and beautiful. Okay, a glue dot will hold this just fine. I can use my take your pick tool if it will behave, and we're going to put that right there. All right, and we'll get that arranged, and there you have it. A beautiful Christmas card. You have done some coloring, but not real detailed coloring, kind of just coloring for the background, and I think it's quite beautiful. Now make sure you click the link here to go back to my blog. There are 2 other Words of Cheer projects, as well as that free PDF I told you about. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.